Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the November 2023 WIMBIZ and NextPublic WIMCAP program on digital storytelling for personal and brand impact. My name is Chinelo Ngene. I'm the Group Head of Marketing, Customer Service, and Product Management at Page Financials, and I'm thrilled to be your anchor for today's session. So now, before we dive into this session, allow me to take a little moment to actually tell you a bit about WIMBIZ. So WIMBIZ, as you probably know, is an acronym. It stands for Women in Management, Business and Public Service, and it's a non-profit organization that has for the past 22 years implemented programs that inspire, empower, and advocate for gender representation of women in leadership positions in the public and private sectors. WIMBIZ is also a volunteer-based organization. It's funded largely by donations and contributions by members and partners, and is a supporter of the Code of Ethics and Conduct for NGOs. For more information, please visit www.wimbiz.org. So at the end of this session, a link is going to be shared for a quick evaluation. Please take a moment to complete the evaluation, as we would love to have your feedback. We kindly invite our participants who are currently not WIMBIZ associates to join us today. For inquiries, please contact us via email at membership@wimbiz.org. Now, before we proceed, let's make welcome the chair of WIMBIZ Programs Committee, Molade Adeni, for the opening remarks. Thank you.
Okay, confirm you can see me. Okay, great, awesome. And confirm you can hear me clearly as well.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great, awesome. And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies. Wherever it is that you are joining us from today. I don't see much activity in this room. Let's be sure that everybody's here and is ticking. Can I just see you drop some hi, hellos, how are you? Your favorite emoji in the chat. You know, we're 70 strong, and I would love to just be sure I can see the hellos. Please, let's keep them coming. Your favorite emoji as well. I see them, I see them, I see them, I see them. Hi, hi, hi. Good to see everyone. And welcome to this session of WIMCAP. I salute all the amazing womenpreneurs in the room. I love the person with the money, the dollars that is flying. That's my favorite emoji too. Awesome. Welcome to this WIMCAP session on digital storytelling. I salute all the womenpreneurs in the room. It's not easy being an entrepreneur. First, it's not easy being a woman entrepreneur. Second, and then being an entrepreneur in Nigeria. Third, and then being an entrepreneur in this year, 2023. Fourth, I really doff my hat to you. I salute you for your courage, for your leadership, for the amazing work that you are doing. Somebody said the basketballs, but the fact that you are here in this room and you signed up for this webinar is a testament to the fact that you have decided that you are not going to give up. You have decided that you are going to thrive, and you have decided that you are possible. So very well done for joining us on this webinar. I'm super excited about this digital storytelling, and I just want to welcome everybody. I mean, when we talk about storytelling, I think that, you know, storytelling is one of those things that I have seen that has transformed not just personal lives, but also businesses as well. And when you are able to do it so well, I mean, I'm sure each and every one of us, there are people we follow and you're like, how are they able to tell this story? And how are they doing it through the use of digital media? And that's exactly what this webinar is going to be. So I want to implore you, if there's friends in your community, there's a WhatsApp group that you're a part of, that is a part of your community as an entrepreneur, and they're not here. I want you to go and put on that group saying, if you're not here, I don't know where else you would be, because the next few hours is going to be explosive. It's going to be amazing. We're going to be delving deeper. We have some amazing speakers. We're going to be delving deep into, you know, the world of digital storytelling, and it's going to be truly transformative. I mean, let's appreciate WIMBIZ one more time. Let's appreciate WIMBIZ for always being at the forefront of thinking about how to help women thrive in all sectors. It's not just about business, it's not just about management, but it's also about entrepreneurs. It's also, about politics. It's about so much more. Please let us just spend some time appreciating WIMBIZ for putting this together. We also want to say a very big thank you to our sponsors as well for coming on board with us as we continue to ideate and as we continue to support people. So WIMBIZ associates, wherever you are, WIMBIZ life members, go and tell all those, we are all in one associate group or another. So go and tell them in that associate group, where are you? This is specially, and this has been specifically curated for associates and life members. So if there's an associate that that is not here, please go and drag them in. If there's a life member that that is not here, go and drag them in. Even those of us that are in organizations and we work 9 to 5, we know that everybody has a side hustle. Everybody has a hustle that they're doing. But more importantly, even digital storytelling for your brand as an individual. We're all selling something, whether you are speaking or you are selling that, whether you are selling a product or a service, there's so much more about you. You are truly, truly possible. Anyway, today is not about me. You haven't come here to hear me. You haven't come here to hear my beautiful voice, as it may be. You come here to hear some amazing speakers. So thank you once again to our sponsors. Thank you to our speakers for being here. And thank you to all of you for also being here as well. You also deserve a round of applause. So as I wrap up my opening remarks, I want you all to give yourselves a big round of applause. Give yourselves a big round of applause for being here and for truly, committing to ending 2023 strong. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand back over to you, Chinelo.
I'm actually clapping for myself. Since you said we should not give ourselves a round of applause. So I hope everybody else is giving themselves, the same applause wherever you are, because we're truly amazing. I'm still buzzing from, the conference that just concluded on Friday. It was truly, truly phenomenal. Now, we're all here to talk about digital storytelling. So everybody here is probably on some social media platform or the other. So talking about digital media, it needs no introduction. So I think if we can all just take a moment and just write down one platform that you think you're most active in and you need some help in, just so if it's Instagram, if it's LinkedIn, if it's Facebook, if it's just blogging, just put in the comment section, this is a platform that I'm most active in and I need, more help to be a more visible brand in whatever niche I'm in. So while we're doing that, today's session, the topic is digital storytelling, focusing on, crafting personal narratives, for brand impact. So for today's session, we have a very powerful speaker who is going to be distilling this topic. So the facilitator is Khadija Ghazi. She's the ecosystem builder and innovation advisor at NextPublic. And she's going to be sharing her expertise and experience in this fascinating realm of digital branding. Khadija builds technology ecosystems by forging strategic global partnerships, while also placing a strong emphasis on emerging technologies, entrepreneurship, and risk capital. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Khadija, I really cannot wait to hear all you have to tell us about digital branding. Khadija, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
So I'll tell you, my name is Khadija Ghazi, and you can see a little bit of my background right now. I'm actually sitting in dormitory in an entrepreneur's residence in Silicon Valley. And in the building, there are 116 entrepreneurs from 34 different countries. And this is my first session in Africa, and I cannot be more grateful. And talking to so many women, I'm just so delighted. So I thank all of you for being here and for listening to me. I'm going to dive right in. So today's session, you might find, is a little bit different from what you're used to. I'm going to keep the spirit of storytelling. I'll tell you a bunch of different stories. And I would like with each story for you to think about how can you align yourself with it. So let me begin. I'm going to quickly share my screen with you. We are. Do. Awesome. Is everybody able to see my screen? Sheila, are you able to see my screen? Just want a confirmation before I move.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Awesome. Perfect. I was once upon a time, many years ago, me and my sister were in a small car with my journalist mother, and we were passing by an area which was not very safe, but my mother was on a field job. And they told us that, there are times because of the tribal violence, they might, attack our car. And my mother, being the journalist that she was, she turned around and she said, "Girls, please duck." And that was it. And that became the level of danger. So my level of danger became so low that unless something is absolutely on fire, I don't think it is dangerous enough. And this is a story that has defined me to become who I am today. And I would like all of you to think, what is that one incident or era in your life that defined who you are? Because for your brand, it is really important who you are, your story, especially as a small business. As it grows, it's really important what your values are, how you have defined yourself. The importance of storytelling in business has become more important than ever before. It differentiates small brands. It helps small brands stand in front of the giants. And it creates an emotional connection with your audience, with your customers, with your partnerships that you are building. And it helps people remember your story. When, people are not going to remember a bottle of water that you're selling, but they will remember the story behind it that was told to them. And staying authentic and true. So you would have remembered a time on Instagram when it was all about posting beautiful pictures, and now that's not the case. People don't want to look at beautiful pictures because everybody has got cameras, everybody has got filters. Beautiful pictures is not a thing. What is important right now is how authentic you are looking. Sometimes you will go through these ads where they're using real people and they're getting influencer to share their real life to promote their brand instead of models. So using storytelling to communicate unique value. And as we go, I'm going to also talk about technology. So we'll take technology and storytelling hand in hand. I'll be talking about this time when there was the banking staff went on a strike. And so they came up with ATM machines that you see now. And when the ATM machines were introduced, the idea was, oh God, now all the tellers are going to lose their job. But guess what happened? There was more and more banking functionality that increased. There were more people banking. How did that happen? Because using banks became much easier and more people started using banks. And there was more staff needed at the banks because now, instead of focusing on giving money out to the customers, the bank employees were working on building relationships. And when you're thinking about your brand, think about that. Think about what are the things that you can automate? What are the things, and don't be afraid of technology. Utilize technology. Use that to elevate your operations and focus on the areas which help you build connections with your customers. Another great story, when the Great Manure Crisis of 1980s happened, there was an article that was published which said that in next 50 years, the streets of London will be stacked up with 9 feet of manure. And, the Boston fire that happened, it is believed that the horses were not able to get the help to the fire was because of the manure on the streets. But guess what happened? Did the 50 years, the streets were full of manure? No. Combustion engines were introduced. The cars were introduced. So when you're thinking of a problem in your business, don't think, oh, it's going to remain the same, or the problem is the betterment of something. Technology is going to change drastically, and keeping up with it and using it for your business is extremely important. How do we decide what story to believe in or not? All of us have confirmation biases. All of us have already things that we believe in. And when something new comes in it, our confirmation bias goes, okay, you know what? We already believe in it, so we're not going to create more conflict. And we're going to go into quick decision making because it's easier to do. You have to process less data. And then we get into danger of cognitive closure. We shut our brain down and we're like, okay, we're not going to debate this anymore. It's important to have diverse perspective. It's important to be open to diverse perspective. And you're running a business, if somebody comes and advises you on something, I say, don't take all the advice that you get, but be open to all the advice that you get. Your employees, your partners, your friends who are talking to you, listen to them all. Let them tell you a story. Let them share their experience. And then you decide what you want to do, and make sure to not be falling for those confirmation biases and doing quick decision making because of that. I'm going to run this video real quickly. I hope everybody can see it, and then we'll talk about it.
Hi, Erin.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm going to just give you some actions to do, and just do the first thing that comes to mind. Show me what it looks like to run like a girl.
Here.
Show me what it looks like to fight like a girl. Now throw like a girl. Aw.
My name is Dakota and I'm 10 years old.
Show me what it looks like to run like a girl. Throw like a girl. Fight like a girl. What does it mean to you when I say run like a girl?
It means run fast as you can.
So do you think you just insulted your sister?
No, I mean, yeah, insulted girls, but not my sister.
Is like a girl a good thing?
Actually, I don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing. It sounds like a bad thing. It sounds like you're trying to humiliate someone.
So when they're in that vulnerable time between 10 and 12, how do you think it affects them when somebody uses like a girl as an insult?
I think it definitely drops their self-confidence and really puts them down, because during that time, they're already trying to figure themselves out. And when somebody says you hit like a girl, it's like, well, what does that mean? Because they think they're a strong person. It's kind of like telling them that they're weak and they're not as good as them.
And
I'll take this moment for all of you to think, let's think about the storytelling behind it. This video, when we watch it, it's not selling you sanitary napkins at all, and the brand is associating itself with women empowerment. So when you watch this ad, you remember the story that they're telling you. Times have changed, if I'm selling a soap, it's no more about selling a soap. It's about selling the idea. And before that soap was selling, there were times when sanitary napkins were showing the successful women, who is now doing great things, looking beautiful because of the comfort. But now people want deeper stories. People want deeper connections. The market is populated, So for you to stand there, tell an authentic story, you have to be able to connect with people, and always has done such an incredible job with this. I'm going to move to the next slide. Give me a second. And every time I watch this ad, and I have played it many, many times in my life, every time I get extremely emotional. Now, this is something, it's just an interesting fact that I want you to all to practice. What causes human drama? Strangers, only 20% are accurate in reading your thoughts and feelings. And guess how much it increases when it comes to friends and family? Only by another 15%. Inaccurate readings of thoughts and feelings is what causes human drama. So when you're interacting in the digital space, on your platforms, know that, most of these people are strangers, and, they're only able to read you 20%. You are able to read them 20% through their comments. So be very gracious in your interactions with online, especially when your brand is interacting with people. The other thing that I really like to talk about is perspectives, because somebody who's buying your product, who's buying your services, they're coming from very different backgrounds. And I feel pandemic was a time when it really polarized everything. So to give you an example, I was living in a city in Toronto, Canada, and the pandemic restrictions were pretty big. They were pretty tight. There were people who were talking about public health, but then there were people who were talking about economy. I lived in a neighborhood that was being gentrified. So it was a poorer neighborhood that was, now building $1 million+ houses. So there was a lot of diversity at the same time. So I was going to school to pick up my son, and I would hear these perspectives. It was a public school, so there were people who were coming from these $1 million houses, and there were people who were coming from tiny little apartments, which were, because of pandemic, kids were not going to school. And, a lot of parents were not able to work. So there's a family of 5, in a really small apartment, not having good access to the internet, not being able to go out because it gets so cold. So their perspective versus people with privilege who had basements and nannies to help them out was very different. One was focused on public health. The other did not have the luxury to be focused on public health. They were focused on the economy. Similarly, personal freedom versus community responsibility. And, your perspective is something, like pandemic, where like, oh, it's so factual, everybody would be thinking similarly. Does not happen. Depending on where you come from, what your story is, what your background, what your experience is, your perspectives changes. So when you are dealing with your customers, think of where they're coming from, what their perspective, and that is going to help you design your communication with them. Is your story biased? It is very easy to develop biases. It's important. Diversity is super important. Building ethical technology, with machine learning, a lot of data, a lot of this has in initial stages was done by white male. And so there are biases that exist. Machine learning stakes in data that is popular, that is out there, and processes it. So it's important for women like us to contribute to technology, to use technology, to reduce those biases. And these biases then also define your brand reputation and helps you stay ahead of the curve. Sorry, I can hear some sound. Is it possible to mute? Thank you so much. I'm going to tell you this really fun story. Once upon a time, this marketer went into a village, and he was, he had come from, he had went abroad, he had gotten a degree in marketing, and he was like, you know what, now I'm going to go to my native village, where he had not lived and experienced. It was just a country that he came from. And he went back and he's like, we are going to run a campaign. He was tasked to run a campaign about contraceptives. So promoting government's agenda of having two kids promote, happy, healthy families, don't have more kids. So he created as simple as 2 posters to take around the village. One poster had 2 kids, 2 parents, and, they had basic amenities like, a proper kitchen, a bicycle, a radio. And then they showed another family where there are 10 kids running around, rolling in dirt, and you can see the house has nothing. And so that message was, if you have less kids, you will have a better standard of living. But guess what happened when they went to the village? People looked at the poster with just 2 kids and they said, oh, we feel so sorry for them. God has blessed them with everything, but only gave them 2 kids. So it's all about perspective. When you're marketing to your audience, think about who you are marketing to and what you are marketing. How do you start a story? Stories do not start chronologically. Your brain, in order to attract something or to get attention, and this can happen at a networking event. If I come to you at a networking event and I tell you I was born in this year and then I moved here and I went to college here, it's boring. Your brain desires change. So when you're telling a story, think of a high moment, think of a hook that can get people into your story, and then you can dive into the details if needed. Ellie Dope is another amazing influencer that I really like. She, during the pandemic, she was living with her mom, recently divorced, had small kids. She got a $1,200 stimulus check that she turned into $2 million. And she started selling these courses online about business and money. And you would think, with Coursera and Udemy, there's so many courses out there. Why would somebody want to listen to this woman, who is struggling in her financial life herself? Why would they listen to her? And the content that she's producing is low quality. She's sitting on a couch, the kids are running around. But there is reason to it, and that's authenticity. Because when people were watching her, when women were watching her, they were like, if she can pull it off, so can we. So she was relatable to them, whereas somebody, giving a course on Udemy, So being relatable to your audience, to your customers, is really important and in a meaningful and an authentic way. I don't know how many of you know of Try Guys. Try Guys is this popular series on YouTube where these 4 guys used to go and try different things, different food, different services. And then one of them was caught cheating. And the way they were caught cheating is also interesting. It was ratted out on Reddit. The idea that I want you to focus on is that once it happened, they edited their videos, they came forward and they were like, what, we're not associating ourselves with it. And this fellow was removed. It is what I want you to focus on here is taking the narrative in your hand. There will be times on your social media, there will be times in promoting your products or services where something wrong will be said. And there will be some burn that will come as a result. Think about how you're going to take the narrative in your hand and how you're going to redirect your audience and how you will authentically explain to them what happened and how you're going to move forward. Why human storytelling has evolved. There was a time when people were controlled physically, through war, through a lot of pressure. And, now the real control that takes place, and it has happened as humans have evolved, is through understanding other humans. Your power to understand humans is what will help you conquer the world. It is what helps people connect with each other. So if you want to have control over humans, it's no more about physical power. It is about your mental capacity to understand people. So, when you're talk to as many customers as you want and try to understand them, because that's where your power comes from in a personal life, also in your business life. this is another story that is very close to my heart. So there are some extremist groups in different parts of the world which are against vaccination. And specifically, I'm talking about polio vaccination. What happens is that they go and promote the message in their small communities that this is a conspiracy, this is an agenda, giving your kids polio drops, don't do it. And then government is trying, and so many of these people who are serving these health workers who are giving out these polio drops get killed in these operations. And I want you to take this moment and think about, there is a story that's being told by these extremist groups, and there's a story being told by the government and the public service message. Both are telling the stories, and in some areas, one story is being taken much better than the other story. So when you are telling a story, there are chances that there is a story that is contradicting to yours. So when you are in a difficult situation, you have to maneuver and you have to really connect in order for your story to be heard. From emergency rooms to economic savings. In Sweden, there's a town where they experimented with it. The snow would be shoveled from the roads first before it would be shoveled from the sidewalks. And how it works is that the sidewalks are mostly taken by the elderly and by the women who are taking care. So a lot of chain stops are made, predominantly the house of the car, with the data that we're looking at, is mostly operated and owned by the men. Whereas women are taking care of kids, women are taking care of elderly, they're making small, shorter stops. They're pushing the carts, pushing the wheelchairs, and they get into more accidents. So all what they did was they switched. Instead of plowing the road first, where the danger is less, they started plowing the sidewalks first. And that helped bring the that helped the government spend less on healthcare. So think about, never go with the flow. Just be like, okay, this is how things have been done, so this is what we're going to do. This is the trend, so we're just going to follow. Think about how you can make little changes, and sometimes those little changes can have a huge overall impact. Why intelligent people believe in stories. Sometimes, you would meet somebody really smart, and sometimes they're saying things or believing in things like, why, what's going on? And that is, cognitive dissonance. So you already believe in something, and when you have to believe in something new, it causes discomfort in your brain. And in order to avoid that discomfort, you accept the story that is being told to you. And then there is trust in authority. So for example, if there is a scientist, a doctor saying something, I'm not going to question them. I'm going to believe them for what they're saying. Then there is emotional appeal. If something has an emotional appeal, your brain stops processing it analytically. It starts avoiding critical thinking, and it just believes in the story. Talking about the emotional connection, Tom's is a brand that started off, it has a very, very interesting story. The founder, was away, and he realized that, the area that he was in, kids were not wearing shoes. Initially, he started going back to his country, bringing these shoes to them, but the sizes would not match. There'll be other struggles. And then he came up with the idea, okay, I'm going to sell these are very basic canvas shoes. I'm going to sell these shoes to you. And as a result, I'm going to give a pair to kids who cannot afford to wear these shoes. So wearing Toms became a sign of, even though they were very basic shoes, it became a trend. It became, if somebody's wearing Tom shoes, they're doing some good in the world. So that emotional connection really helped their sales. Warby Parker, they realized that the glasses, they were on a trip. They did not have a lot of money, and they broke their glass. And they realized that getting a new pair of glasses is so expensive in North America. Why is it so expensive? And when they went back, they were mostly being done by the same manufacturers. They started a company. I get my glasses from Warby Parker. The process is so simple of getting the glasses. A, that, and B, the prices are, you know, much more affordable. But the unique identity is about the story they tell about themselves, that, you know, how they went, they were getting glasses, they were expensive, they discovered why they're expensive. And now it's not just the glasses are cheaper. You can never just rely on selling something for cheap. That sometimes destroys your brand. It's about maintaining that process and maintaining that cycle. So Warby Parker is popular because it became trendy. The way they were telling their story became unique. So they developed this unique identity. Our glasses will be trendy. Our service will be great. When you walk into the store, their service is absolutely amazing. Glossier was started by a blogger. She was, you know, blogging, and then eventually she started her brand Glossier. If you go to their website, this is the only makeup that I use because I'm somebody with very limited makeup skills. And you go to their website and you see how they're showing people who are not extremely glorified, you know. They're women like, you know, everyday women putting on makeup on themselves. It's easy to apply. So the whole story is makeup for everyone. And they don't have just people buying their brand. They have customer loyalty of a next level. People travel for hours to get to their store, to experience. And when you go into their store, it's a beautiful experience that they create for you. So again, there are enough makeup brands in the world. How was Glossier able to make it and, you know, break it into the market? It was through their unique storytelling. I want you to take this moment and maybe write in the chat, write 3 goals of your brand story. To make a great story about your brand, start thinking about yourself and then what you want to achieve. Do not separate yourself from your brand. Think about why you started what you started, what were your values, and base your brand story on that. What does success look like to you? Do you want to make more money, get more people to visit your website, have more people on your social media account? What are your 3 main goals? And you don't even have to think about, you know, 10 years from now, just thinking about right now what your 3 main goals are. Why should you tell a strong story? It's not just about telling a story, but telling a strong story. It builds customer loyalty, allows for more effective messaging. So when you're setting up your messaging, we're like, this is how we're going to communicate. This is the messaging that we'll send out there. This is how we're going to market. This is how we're going to improve customer engagement. You have to tell a strong story of yourself for your brand to stand out, for you to be recognizable, and for you to be able to stand in front of your competitor. Patagonia is a very interesting brand. They mostly cater to outdoor clothing. And the owner realized that, you know, I am promoting outdoor activities, but then people are going to these beautiful outdoors and destroying them. So the whole idea with Patagonia is that it comes with lifetime warranty. You tear your jacket, they fix it. The whole idea is keep wearing the same clothes over and over again. We will use such good materials that you will not have to replace. Even used Patagonia jackets get sold for a really high price on eBay. And they have been very transparent about how they operate. So when you look at Patagonia, you know, there is a fan club. Somebody is where, you know, it carries a certain brand where people, you know, when you're wearing Patagonia, people think, okay, you are somebody who cares about environment. You're somebody who is outdoorsy. Rotties is another brand that is using material, recyclable material, to make shoes that look very luxurious, you know, something that we would like to wear. So taking something that is recyclable, but not making, you know, if you are doing something good for the environment, or, you know, if you have a good cause behind your brand, you don't necessarily have to have things where, because people don't want to compromise on how they want to wear it or how they want to buy it. They're happy to support, but what you build for them also needs to align with what's out there in the market. And that is something that Rotties have been able to do really well. One of the things that is most demanded in shelter homes is pair of socks, because pair of socks go bad really fast. They get wet, they get cold, so people need a pair of socks. And WIMBIZ, what they started to do was similar to Tom's. If you buy a pair of socks, they donate a pair of socks. So the messaging, the effective marketing, and the good that they wanted to do, but use it for marketing, went really big, and it is a huge brand now. How do you craft your brand stories? 3 things: authenticity, visuals, and multimedia. Visuals are extremely, extremely important. It doesn't have to be beautiful people on your social media, on your ads, but these needs to be images that people can remember and people can associate with yourself, with themselves with. Simplicity. Keep your stories simple. Keep your stories so simple that people are able to remember, but then people also find it interesting. A good example of this is a Japanese brand called Muji. Their products are high quality, cheap price, less branding, very, very simple branding all over. Airbnb struggled. So when Airbnb came into play, they were asking people to take pictures of their homes and post them. But people were taking basic pictures. People didn't care as much. It was their home. They're just taking pictures and posting. But that meant that not enough, the buyers, were not ready to take those apartments because, they didn't think that it was good enough place, or, it was not photographed well. So what Airbnb started doing was they started sending their own photographers, asking them to take professional pictures, and that just increased the selling of the same units. So multimedia and visual connection that you made and how you visually tell your story is extremely important too. How can diversity benefit your brand story? Diversity builds credibility. It helps different audiences connect with your brand. And Old Navy has done an incredible job. All their advertisement, the clothing sizes that they sell are very diverse. And, in the world that we live in right now, accepting different body sizes, accepting different colors, accepting different backgrounds that people are coming from has become very integral to the businesses. When you're telling your story, I want you to think about your background. Who are you as a founder? What inspired you? What built this vision that you have? And how does that influence your organization? So whenever you're putting your story together, think about your background. This, and hopefully, in future, if we run into each other again, I love to talk about technology and how I'm really passionate about businesses, specifically small businesses, to be able to leverage technology. I know how expensive it is for small businesses to be able to have, more than a few employees working on specific things. And now is a time when a lot of marketing, a lot of other things can be automated. The idea for that is, when you're using technology, plan once, plan again, and keep repeating. Use cloud, go mobile, have a strong online presence, socialize, and collaborate with other brands, collaborate with other people to truly get to that win. I would love to, in the chat among yourselves, discuss what are your favorite resources. When you're meeting other founders, ask them, what are the resources that are using to leverage technology? For me, it's Canva, ChatGPT, HubSpot. These have really been able to help people market. So do look into that. And that's it. We are done over here. I'm going to leave my email address in the chat. I'll be more than happy to hear from you if you would like to tell your story, take my feedback on something. I will be more than happy to do that. Also, we are offering. I have a designer who has worked with Disney, who has worked with a lot of startups in Silicon Valley, at Berkeley. We'll figure out how we do it, but we'll take 3 people to do a diagnosis of their brand and give them some advice. Again, thank you so much for listening to me. I'm so grateful being here.
Thank you so much, Khadija. Wow, what a powerful session. I think for me, my biggest takeaway was when you talked about creating content that is relatable to your audience. And that just, struck home for me because at some point in my career, I dabbled into entrepreneurship, and I was in the fitness space. And I used to post all these like very edited videos of myself lifting weights, and I didn't get much traction. And then eventually I realized that most of the people following me were people who were trying to figure out how to start fitness. So my videos were like so far away from their reality. So I had to readjust and post content that was relatable to my audience. So for me, that was the biggest takeaway, like understand who your audience is, and create content that they can relate to. So now, before I go into the questions, I want to take a moment to recognize the chairman of WIMBIZ, Mrs. Bisi Adeyemi, who is currently on the call with us. Welcome. Okay, thank you so much. I see that there are no questions in the chat box yet, so I'm just going to open up the session for people who want to ask questions. So if you have any questions, you have a comment, you have a remark, just signify by raising up your hands and you'll be unmuted so that you can contribute to the session. I'm seeing a lot of thank yous. Yes, thank you. Thank you. It's nice to see that, we all learned something from the session. For me, it was create content that resonates with your audience. And also when you talked about the ATM story, people being scared that technology was going to take their jobs. It just reminded me of when ChatGPT came up and, all the conversations around, oh, what would be the impact on, marketers in the industry? Are we going to have jobs by the time AI is done with us? And the interesting thing is that a lot of people have realized that AI is actually here to enhance what we're doing, and more people are actually embracing AI, ChatGPT, and all these amazing resources. Okay, Brenda, I can see your hand is raised, so you can just unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, hi, thank you so much. Thank you for today's class. It was very, very, very relatable, actually. My question is, when we talk about brand stories, we always talk about authenticity. We always talk about, telling your story and, being who you really are. I want to ask, where do we draw the line between authenticity and oversharing, perhaps? You're trying to be authentic, you're trying to be relatable, but you don't want to share something that will put your audience off or cast you in a bad light. How do we, make that thin line? How do we walk that thin line? I hope my question is clear.
Yeah. I think that is something, I suffer from, many people suffer from, and it is this creative resistance that comes in, right? Where we start overthinking of what we are sharing. And initially, when you are building your brand, sharing is important, right? The production of content, how often you are doing it. You absolutely have to draw a line somewhere where like you have to set a boundary for yourself and be like, you know what, for example, I'm not going to share my children on the internet. I'm going to not share my very personal life, but I'm going to share my opinions on things. And then you define, okay, when I'm sharing my opinions, I'm going to share my political opinions. I'm not going to share my health related information. So those are the never given to the fact, oh, because everybody else is doing, I can do it. Oversharing is, can really backfire really fast. So it's just something that you draw a line on. Okay, this is the area that I'm going to share about. I'll share my opinions on it, but this is how far I'm going to go. But I think sometimes you also overwhelm people with oversharing. So authenticity is more like when I am talking to you, I'm talking to you in my voice. I am talking to you about my struggles. And I'm telling you my story as is. And a lot of times what happens is that I love to ask questions to women because I like to hear what their struggles was. It makes them relatable. So making people, I think the whole idea of authenticity is to be relatable to your audience. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sharifat, please go on with your question.
Hi, thank you so much, Khadija. That was a powerful session. Thank you. So, my question, I think you've answered some of it with you explaining authenticity, being you sharing just your own truth where you are, not necessarily sharing private things. Okay, so then my question now then will be, how do you, okay, this is a question I get a lot from my students where they say, how do you, when you're telling a story or when you're building your brand, how are you able to flow in terms of sharing in a way that you are not overthinking or over judging yourself? Okay, so you're building a brand, you want to share your story. How do you find the words that make sense, or that is long enough, or that is relatable, or that connects you? How would you, help someone in that space? Thank you.
It's a muscle that you have to develop. So if you're a bit reluctant doing that online, do it at networking events, do it with your friends and extended friends and colleagues, and tell them the story and read their reaction on how they react to it. And that also helps you refine your story and figure out what aspects of your story people find interesting. So starting from that before you share online, and it's like a muscle, once you have built that muscle of sharing, it's only going to improve. And you will have to stop, take any content creator that you know of, and go back in time and look at their content. And that's going to be nothing in comparison to what they're posting right now. So for anyone who is going that path, it is going to be a process of evolution. It's never going to be, we always created great content. You will go through highs and lows, and, and we'll have to own up to it. We as humans evolve. What I was when I was 17 years old, I am not today as a woman in her 30s. So you have to accept the evolution process, and you have to accept that, things, you have to practice on people to see what resonates with them.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Sharifa. Michelle, please go ahead with your question.
Hi, good afternoon. My question, my name is Chizoba. Sorry, I don't know, my iPhone always switches names. So my name is Chizoba. My question was, is it possible that you can clearly differentiate your personal brand from...
Sorry, you got cut off there. Differentiate your personal brand?
Yes, you want to see your business
brand.
Hello?
Yes, that's my question. Trying to ensure that both of them stand independently, or does it have to be cohesive, so that it's not a clash as to what both brands represent?
Okay, so let me give you an example. There is a company that is promoting, that is a hiring company that promotes hiring remote employees, right? So and they have two-sided, it's a two-sided sword, right? One, they have to capture the clients who are going to get these people, hire these people, but then at the same time, they have to sell to the people to register on their website to become the potential remote employees. So on their website, on their brand, on their company brand, what they promote is about freedom of being a remote employee. You can be in your pajamas. You can get so much done when you're a remote employee. So that is what they're posting on their work account. Whereas on the personal account, this person who owns this company is talking about how she overcomes procrastination, how she manages her time, how she uses resources. So the two things are telling the same story, but from a different angle. One is going from the company perspective, and the other is sharing her life and how she's overcoming things, how wealth is built. So she's talking about those things to resonate with people who are in her position, who are business owners, who are going to hire these people. So you can take different angles, but talk about the same thing. And when you don't want to sound like a company when you're posting something from your personal account. At the same time, when you're posting from your company account, you don't want your brand to become you, because then in long run, it becomes a problem. When you're small, it is fine. But when you become bigger, then you have to disassociate yourself with your brand in order for you to move forward.
Definitely agree with you, Khadija. And I think it's also okay, like, because I feel like some people feel the pressure, like, I have to have my business brand, I have to have my personal brand. I think it's okay to just have your business brand and just take a back seat if that's not your personality. I think that's my perspective. Anyway, Blessed, please go on with your question.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Blessed. So I work with an NGO that focuses on empowering women and girls with technology skills. So we've been working with a particular set of audience, that's young children, minors, where we get to teach them technology related tools. So just to create an exposure, early exposure to technology. So we really have this issue of knowing what to share and what not to share, because when you get to a school and then you train them, and then you hear people telling you, okay, you don't need to show their faces, you don't need to share the name of the school. So how do you provide authentic content? How do you ensure that that whatever you share is actually authentic, that people can actually say that, okay, this is actually true, without going against data privacy protection and all that. So what would you advise for us to do, just to ensure that our contents are actually okay and top notch? Thank you.
Oh, that's a very good question. And that's a true struggle in this world right now, because people who are digital natives, unfortunately, they have never seen privacy in their life. So they don't even know what it is. They don't know how to handle that situation. For us, most of the people in this room, we have experienced some privacy at some point in our lives. So for that, I feel if you look at, let's talk about YouTube in this situation, because that's where you are truly selling your face and, you're truly selling your movement. There are numerous accounts where, you don't see the face, you just see the hands, or, you're just looking at images and, you're not listening to the person. At end of the day, telling story or branding or anything, it has to bring value to the person who is taking in your content. If your content, if your brand, if your story is not bringing value to me, it means nothing to me, So no matter what you're generating, you're showing your face or you're not showing your face, if you are bringing value, that's it. It doesn't matter at that point, if you want to stay low key, just focus on bringing that value to someone's life. For me, the biggest, the thing that makes me most nervous, I have done it so many times over and over again, but to me, I'm so nervous right now, thinking that, was I able to bring value? Like, these people came online, they've taken out time from their lives. Did they really learn something? So that will always stay there, and that fire that keeps you humble, and that also keeps you constantly working on bringing that value.
Well, I can tell you one thing for sure. We definitely got value from your session, Khadija.
You're being generous. You're being so generous.
Okay, so the next question is from Sumi in the chat box. She's asking, In situations where you have two types of audience and these audiences hardly interact with your content, even after you've tried the storytelling method, what do you do?
You keep generating content. Don't stop generating content. You know, it takes months, sometimes it takes years. I just right now ran into this woman's content that has gone viral. All she does, I don't know if you have seen it, is from this city in India, and you know, she's selling these clothes, and what she says is that, you know, you're looking so beautiful, I'm looking so beautiful, I'm so looking so elegant, I'm looking like a wow. And that just went crazy viral, you know. And then you go to her page, and you know, she's selling dresses, and her business has just, you know, gone off the roof. But when you look at her, she generates so much content. So do not get discouraged. At, you know, in the content game, it is definitely about volume initially. Unless you know, find that audience, you have to constantly do it. So to give you, and I've been so bad at it, you know, I have been terrible at it, because I come from a culture where I was told it to be humble, you know, to be extremely humble, to talk about yourself, to boost yourself, to promote yourself was something that's looked down upon. So for me to break that mental barrier was really difficult. So how it works is that, for example, I work a lot in technology. So when I post about it, you know, judging a cyber hackathon or meeting somebody in Brazil, promoting entrepreneurship, when I post about what happens is that when people are thinking about that, even though they're not interacting with your content, you will come to their mind. And then they will message you, they'll DM you, they will reach out to you. So your job, and in the world that we are living in, soon we'll start becoming invisible if we don't have that online presence. So break that barrier, post for yourself. You know, just how we say, do it for yourself, self-care, to be like, you know what, I'm going to talk about myself, I'm going to talk about what I have done, and this is going to be for myself with no external pressure.
I definitely agree, Khadija. And even, especially in the Nigerian markets, a lot of the people who are buying, they're not commenting on your posts. They're not engaging. They've seen your content and they're going to, you know, buy from you anyway, whether or not they comment. So just, you know, keep doing what you have to do. Okay, the next question is from Oluyemi Obadari. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Not a question per se. I just want to contribute to the lady that spoke earlier. You know, she was talking about data protection. How is she sure that what she's posting is within context or she's not sharing too much? So I'll just let you know that for data protection, the first thing that should come to your mind is PII. Personally identifiable information. As long as you're sure that you're not disclosing this information, you can still play with whatever content you want to share. So I work with Certification Partner Global. I'm the CEO. We help organizations certify to the global ISO standards and the industry best practices. I put my details there and my LinkedIn profile. So PII is what you should just look for. Ensure that there's no information that can be directly linked. Date of birth, full names, you know, house address, social security number. For us in Nigeria, it's ANIN. So those are the things you should watch out for. Thank you very much.
Right. No, that's great. Thank you for sharing.
Somehow we have all these experts in the house. Thank you so much, Oluyemi. Adiola, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Adiola, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Khadija, thank you so very kindly for your session. I've benefited so much. So what I want to ask, you've answered some of my questions when responding to the other question with respect to not oversharing and separating personal brand from business brand. So thank you for that. I wanted to ask that with respect to the last question you responded to, where you said that the person that was talking about content creation, you said you keep creating content. So my question is, how frequently do you put your content out there, especially considering how tackling the task of content creation can be? What would you recommend as a professional?
I think depending on it really depends on your audience, but that is a rule, that is a goal that you can set for yourself, right? For example, saying I'm going to post twice on LinkedIn, and and then I'm going to react to other people's posts or comment on other people's posts, at least 5 posts in a week, because it's not just about you posting, you also have to engage with other people in order for you to get that engagement. So help people out, if they're asking for something, make recommendations, connect people with each other. I repeat this to myself over and over again. People will forget everything. People will forget the things that you have done for them. People will forget what you did. The one thing that people don't forget is how you made them feel. If somebody has posted something and you engage with them, or you give them some information, or you make that connection, that feeling that they feel, they will remember that. So just like in real world, the online world works similarly, where you have to, it's a give and take. So set yourself a goal. You know what? This is practical for me. I can post twice a week. I'll continue to do that on a Sunday or Monday, whichever day I am, have a more downtime. I'll think about what I want to do, schedule something, and maybe in a day I'll take 5 minutes out, go through my feed and engage with a certain people. And as you engage, you start seeing more content. So that need varies for everyone. But starting off, I think if you're getting into that pool twice a day, sounds like a good plan.
Okay. Oluchi.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Oluchi, would you like to ask your question, ma'am?
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. Khadija, thank you very much. I very much appreciate your session. My question is this: I know you tried explaining it earlier, about being authentic and being vulnerable. Where, because now we're talking about being able to create value. Our clients, should be able to get value from whatever we are posting, And recently, I just read something about a post on saying that when we focus on ourselves, we are being selfish. But when we focus on others, we are creating a significant effect, in their lives, as we now become significant, instead of just being on ourselves. So what I'm trying to say is that since we have, this is for both us and others, now, being authentic, is this something having a thin line, or also being vulnerable, with what we share? Do you get that?
Yeah, no, that's a very, very good question. I was reading this book called The Science of Storytelling, and one of the things that they talk about is when you're watching a movie or when you're reading a novel, you don't connect with how glamorous or the goods of the character. You connect with the flaws of the character. That's what brings you closer to the character. And even in real life, when if I come to you and be like, I'm this and that, and I'm doing these amazing things, I'm not relatable. You might listen to me, but you're not going to connect with me. It's through my vulnerabilities that I build those connections, where I open the door for us to connect. So I think vulnerabilities are important, but I feel that they probably can be saved for more one-on-one connections. When you're talking online, do not do not overshare those vulnerabilities in a way where you regret kind of going back and being like, oh, that was too much to share. So be authentic in your tone. And when we say authentic, it's like, if I come to you and I ask myself, the stories that I'm telling today, when I'm talking about ATM, or I'm talking about Tom's shoes, or Glossier, or Warby Parker, does it make a difference to me? Like, am I just sharing these stories because these stories sound good? Or am I sharing these stories because they impacted me? So I think that's a good start to take off. If something is impacting you, share that. Don't share things for the sake of sharing them. I think that really helps, that line between, be like, okay, am I being authentic or am I not being authentic? And you would think that authenticity comes naturally. It does not, even authenticity gets built up, that even gets refined over a period of time on what is your authentic voice. And, and then once that is established, then you go with it, but that has to go through a process of evolution.
Okay, thank you very much.
Definitely, I agree with you on oversharing and finding that balance. Okay, so we have time for just one final question. Chinelo Awotoye, please go ahead with your question.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Khadija. I mean, I'll just join everybody to say it's been a wonderful listening to you and a lot of learnings for everyone. And I quite agree with you when you talk about oversharing. I mean, that can never be overemphasized. But my question is quite, for a novice, for somebody who has a different orientation, but wants to get very busy on the internet and also has products to put out there, is there a one-size-fits-all strategy that would help me launch into the brand space and get as relevant as I need to be? Is there a one-size-fits-all strategy? Thank you.
I think it is for you to know that, to understand that it's not easy for anyone. Even people who are doing it every day, they're questioning themselves every day on what they're doing. So, we all put up a face of, we know what we're talking about. We're all struggling a little bit here and there. The only way we get better at it is, as it was said once, I'm sure all of you must have heard growing up, practice makes you perfect. You do it over and over again, and that muscles get built up. Going, like, when I go to a networking event, my goal is to talk to at least 10 people. Every time I enter the room, I want to run back. I want to just hide somewhere. And can you imagine? I'm doing it for years and I still feel that way when I enter the room. But what has improved is once I start talking, I'm able to go with the flow. And what has improved is I know how to read the body language now. And body language is the majority of the communication that takes place, right? So I would say start off with engaging with other people's content and start reading other people's content. When you look at people in your pool, be like, okay, these are 3 people who are quite similar to who I am, and see what they're posting. And that will be like, if this person can post about this, why can I not post about this? And that will also give you confidence. So these will be little exercises that you will figure out yourself, but start engaging, make one post, and then, see what other people are posting. And I think that will help you jump that barrier.
Thank you so much. Thanks. It's very enlightening.
Wow. Unfortunately, that's how much questions we have time to take. Or you can reach out to WIMBIZ on social media for additional comments and inquiries. Khadija, I just want to thank you so much. Like, this has been such an enlightening session. And for me, who is fully in the digital space, the branding space, I was still able to learn a whole lot. Like, everything was like, wow, I didn't know that. Wow. Like putting a fresh perspective on what you already know. So thank you so much for taking out time. Everyone, Khadija, she actually joined this session at like 5:30 a.m. because she's in New York. So this is a huge sacrifice and we really, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for the lessons, for the relatable stories. Everything has been a hit. So now we're getting to the end of the session. But before we close, let's invite Dr. Joy Issa, who is the Vice Chair Programs Committee at WIMBIZ, for the closing remarks. Thank you so much.
What can I say? It has been a wow time. Just, I've had fun listening, engaging with the content. Thank you so much, Khadija, for sharing so freely of your knowledge, your experience. And I mean, I made a couple notes. I love the fact that you spoke about the frequency of posting. A lot of us shy away from posting, but it is important for us to post. I also like the fact that you said we should engage with other people's posts. So it's not just about posting our own content, but supporting each other. And I think that's one of the values we get from being WIMBIZ associates, part of WIMBIZ, where we're women supporting women, we're working collaboratively, you know, to build our businesses, build our careers. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you for waking up so early. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Thank you, everyone. Fantastic, fantastic engagement online. Great questions. Thank you all so much for joining our session today. We really appreciate all of you. And thank you to our wonderful anchor who anchored our meeting beautifully. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate everyone. So we are putting in an evaluation link just to evaluate the session, as is our custom, because feedback is important to us. So we would really like some feedback on the session. It helps us determine, you know, what topics to share or to host online as we go forward. So please, when you get the email, please fill out the form. The link should be put in the, can we have the link in the chat room as well? So yeah, people can just click on. Excellent.
And no pressure, anyone. You know, I'm a strong person. I'll be able to take it. But through your feedback, you might be able to help other people suffering, so I don't make them suffer.
Fantastic. Fantastic. That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. For those of us who are not yet members of WIMBIZ, we invite you to join this amazing company of women. As you see, what you see is what you get. We're building ourselves, building our confidence, ensuring that, you know, we're supporting each other. We're just growing as women, growing together, being there for each other and learning. Actively learning. So yes, we know how to have fun, but we also know how to learn, and we know how to, you know, be game changers in our different industries. So you do want to be a part of WIMBIZ. Part of what we do is support the younger generation, and we've got a big sister program, a WIMBIZ Big Sister program. And that's an opportunity for us to mentor, you know, younger women and young girls. So we go to secondary schools, we speak to them, we share, you know, we just encourage them, because, I mean, for some of us, if we'd had people speak to us when we were much younger, we probably would have grown up more confident, you know. So that's a great program that's coming up. We are inviting everyone to please sponsor a girl. It's only 10,000 Naira. That's just a nice meal in a not so expensive restaurant these days, but 10,000 Naira makes a big difference in the life of a young girl. So please partner with us as we support these young girls around us. Again, visit our website to know more about our programs. Follow us on all our social media handles. We're active on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow us, repost, like, and comment on our posts, on our content. Thank you so much again to everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you, WIMBIZ HQ. Yeah, I see lots of thank yous. Okay. Gosh, so many messages. All right, so take your time. go through. We'll give you a couple minutes as we end so you can click on the right links. If you just open them up, then you can, follow us and join as we go along. Yes, thank you for posting that. The Big Sister program, the sponsorship link is in the chat room where you can give a donation. Like I said, it's just 10,000 Naira. Yeah, fantastic. Yes, Khadija, we will connect with you online. Thank you so much, everyone. You have an amazing, amazing, amazing day. God bless you all. Awesome.